Here's Johnny.
Vapid, the definition of vapid, offering nothing that is stimulating or challenging. Used in a sentence tonight by Becky Lynch, who suddenly became a poet, in case you didn't know it. Trish, you're vapid, I'm passion. You're trashy, I'm fashion. You're cold, I'm hot. I'm it, you're not. Boy. Well, at least we triggered some women tonight on social media. Becky Lynch bringing back the night that Vince McMahon made Trish Stratus bark like a dog. And yeah, that triggers women in 2023 and those aspiring to be women. Good evening, everybody. Don Tony here. And no, that is not a shot towards trans or no, that's a shot to people who act their shoe size instead of their age. Yeah, it happens on all sides of the aisle, male, female, wherever you lie. But welcome to this Raw Post Show. I am Don Tony. I want to thank you all for joining me. In a few moments, we will dissect Raw a little bit. We will try to make it as fun as possible for everybody. Get into some injury news. Got some video. In fact, yes, even though tonight is a WWE related show, we wait till Wednesday for AEW news and NXT and, you know, everything that's non-WWE. We will talk about Mercedes Mone tonight. Very tough break for her. No pun intended. Broke her ankle yesterday in a match against Willow Nightingale. I actually have some fan cam footage that I want to share with all of you. I actually slowed it down so you could actually see the moment her foot hits the floor. I don't know about you, but to me, zooming that in as best as I could, it looks like that she might have landed on something that might have been sticking out from under the ring. When you see it up close, you'll see what I'm talking about. She hits the apron. You'll see it in a few minutes. Also, we have to discuss, I've had a lot of emails because I teased that probably next Thursday or the following Thursday, we're going to do another Q&A. It'll be open to everyone. Our channel members get a little VIP treatment before everybody. But right away, I got a bunch of emails about this WWE top 25 list. They've done some doozies over the years. This one is up there. They count down to them their greatest WWE debuts of all time, top 25. I actually have video. I had to splice it and dice it so we wouldn't get hit with copyright, but we will count that down in a little bit. I will give you my thoughts. Not all of it is bad, but you could tell there's some anger towards some people in AEW. little hint right there. Let me just do this. And no, I'm not trying to pretend I'm Raven. Actually, you know what? Shot against Raven as well when we get into the list. Got some ratings, a little plug for the history show. And speaking of plugs, don't forget, tomorrow night, Kevin Castle and yours truly will be recording a special episode, WWE Night of Champions preview and predictions. We will be talking about the event itself. We will be talking about a couple other tidbits, plus what we believe is going to transpire following Night of Champions, because there is going to be some storyline twists and turns that will happen at the Saudi Arabia show. Now, for our Patreon family, you're welcome to stop by the Patreon Discord and tune in live tomorrow at 10:05 p.m. That is when we're going to record it. If you're not part of our Patreon family, no worries. The show will be on DonTony.com Tuesday night right after we're done. When you do audio only, literally takes me about 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops to just splice an intro, level out audio, filter out a couple other little noise reductions and upload it. So I would say around midnight Tuesday night, you'll get that episode. And if we get a nice, response to it, I'll try to convince Kev Castle to do a recap show with me the following Tuesday. So I'm still not sure about Double or Nothing and NXT, how we're going to handle those predictions. I'm leaning towards doing one maybe next Thursday, possibly Friday. Not sure yet. Might record it in advance. We got to wait till next Wednesday's not. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'll keep everybody updated. And all that CM Punk stuff, listen, we beat that to death. By this time, 48 hours from now, this will be a lot of it a distant memory. I feel your pain, everyone that's been dealing with what you've been dealing with online. It's not very good. But speaking of not very good, listen, I totally understand why a lot of you out there felt that tonight's Raw was not a very good lead-in to Night of Champions. A lot of people felt that tonight's Raw was mostly the Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes build, and Seth Rollins. Hey, look, Seth Rollins has been the freaking workhorse for WWE for the last couple of years. No denying it. Seth Rollins has been the freaking workhorse. Taking 2 Mondays off to film Captain America, New World Order is not the end of the world. We already tackled the fake news that WWE has concern that he might get more movie roles as if they don't have any say in it. No worries, everyone. I think we pretty much know where this goes from here. I totally understand why some of you do think that this might lead to AJ Styles winning it and segue Seth Rollins more towards Roman Reigns. Listen, WWE has gotten into a horrible habit, and Triple H is largely responsible for it. I was actually talking to a WWE Hall of Famer over the weekend. We were chatting a little bit about wrestling, and we were talking about, since Triple H has been heading up creative since August, and this blame Vince McMahon stuff is ridiculous, because Triple H has a lot of say. It's not just smoke and mirrors, but, he pointed out, if you look at WWE since August of last year, you look at the title situation, you look at the status of some people, Bianca is still pretty much in her position. Rhea Ripley has been rewarded, absolutely. Roman Reigns still in that position. They absolutely tanked with the Bray Wyatt situation. I've had people, and listen, on Saturday, we already addressed the news floating around about Bray Wyatt done with WWE. We're not going to talk about that tonight. But I will say this. I've been asked repeatedly, why is Bray Wyatt's latest run failed? Why did it fail? Why has it been a disappointment, even before he took time off again? And I'm not going to type 320 characters and do it there, but I will say it here right now. And the problem with that storyline is a problem that they're doing right now with Roman Reigns, a problem that they're doing right now with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. If you really pay close attention, what they are doing is they are milking some storylines way too long before advancement. They took too long doing QR codes and teasing and throwing little things, and you do a little research online, teasing who's going to be Uncle Howdy. Is there going to be a Wyatt Six? Is Alexa Bliss going to be? I mean, they milked that for months and months and months. And then they decided that he's going to fight LA Knight in some bullshit gimmick, neon lights off match. And you look back on, you're like, this motherfucker's been back for how long? And we still don't know who Uncle Howdy is. We still don't know what the deal is this. A lot of the original reasons, remember, the original storyline is that Bray Wyatt is feuding. He's got 6 shades of Bray. We've talked about it countless times. He's battling his inner demons. His inner demons are coming to life on the screen. And somehow it ended up going here and there and this and that. And next thing you know, it's like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. You're like, what the fuck? Now you see Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. Listen, do not be swayed by the people online that need this to be a topic of conversation. Cody Rhodes will be fighting Roman Reigns down the line. This is Dusty 2023. Finish the story. Remember we talked about that night that I had that brainstorm that this is the 4 horsemen, going after Dusty Rhodes all over again. Now, the difference is back then you didn't have Ric Flair, and Ole turning, against Arn and Tully, and they'd start feuding. Of course, it's a 2023 era. But the thing is, this is being milked and being milked and being milked. Now, for young wrestling fans, they don't understand because they didn't live through those days. I saw a bunch of geniuses online trying to tell people that, oh, no, look, teasing a broken arm. That's when they teased when the Horseman broke Dusty's leg and this and that. First of all, that happened in like 85 that led to StarCast. And StarCast, Dusty won by disqualification. Dusty won the championship, if I remember correctly, in 1986, and he held the title for 14 days. Imagine going from 85, leading into Starrcade, which we could say WrestleMania, 39, and then the following year, 86, which we could say Cody Rhodes 2024, and Cody finally dethrones Roman and holds the title for 14 days. Could you imagine the uproar on social media? Our ears would be bleeding. Seriously. See that woman that walked that carpet on some award show over the weekend? She poured blood all over. Literally, we'd be just bleeding blood out of our ears. They're going to take elements of it, but make no question about it. What you are watching is the chase. It's the obstacle. Remember, down the line, the storyline that we talked about with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. And who knows, we were playing around with Drew McIntyre over the weekend. Drew McIntyre returns and turns heel. I'd rather see Drew McIntyre go after Cody than go after Seth Rollins. Because if he goes after Seth Rollins for the championship, Seth's not going to lose that title that quickly. So Drew is going to have a losing effort. At least with Cody, there's that suspension of disbelief that Cody could possibly lose one here and there. Cody could lose a match and still be on path for the chase. Dusty Rhodes was not undefeated every time he chased for the title. So they could do that with Drew. But right now, WWE is taking way too much time. Look at Riddle. For the last 7 days, people have been telling you, oh, the mystery partner is Drew McIntyre. The mystery partner, oh, can you imagine if it's Randy Orton? The mystery partner. They mentioned everybody except for who we said a week ago was going to be because it was obvious. Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle's going to be feuding with Gunther. But that's boring. And that doesn't keep the conversation going. And now what happens tonight, it's revealed that it was Matt Riddle all along. And they won. They won tonight. But they are milking this shit way too long. And Triple H, love him or hate him, he is hugely responsible for it. Why? Breaking news. Triple H has been with WWE since 1995. Triple H has been working behind the scenes way more than the last 2 years. Triple H is part of the McMahon family, that mentality. Triple H is about the bottom line, answering to investors, making money, making profits, building stars, whether you like it or not. Look at LA Knight. LA Knight, things are starting to turn around. I told you, better nights ahead, pun intended. They are taking a little bit too long, though. Now, hopefully, and I believe this, a month and a half from now, LA Knight will be in a much better position. Remember, and I don't say this to brag, I say it to just give you, little assurance. Don't worry about it. Austin Theory, perfect example. The night he lost I'm sorry for people that don't like me repeating, but the night he lost that briefcase, you had everybody and their mother telling us it's what the fuck you doing with WWE? Oh, he's not a Triple H guy. He was a Vince guy, and hey, they've lost faith in him and release him now. I came up here and I said, him losing the briefcase was the best thing that could have happened to him tonight. Now he doesn't have to focus with that briefcase anymore. Now you could focus on the fucking guy. And look what has happened. People think I'm nuts when I keep saying now Jade Cargill needs to lose that women's championship, because now it's like playing a video game on brain dead mode. You play a video game. See, me, I'm old school. I like playing like Miss Pac-Man and Gallagher and stuff like that. And I have an arcade machine. And I could actually push some buttons in the back of the machine and I could make it easy mode. If I play it on arcade mode, I'll get to screen 9 on Gallagher. But if I put it on easy mode, I'll get to screen 45. If I put it on brain dead, mentally and physically deficient mode, I could get to probably the final screen. So Jade Cargill now, 400 days, 450 days. It's like she's working hard. It's not her fault. But now it's like, yeah, her run is like easy mode. It's so her losing that championship is the best thing for her early career, because it removes that stigma that it's an automatic win. Oh, she's 45-0. They're not going to take the title off her now. She's 50-0. She's 55-0. Why take the title off her now? Now she's approaching 70-0. Oh, go for 100-0. Oh, she's already at 4. That's the problem you run into. Seth Rollins, when he becomes the champion, that is something that I keep talking about that you have to be aware of. Seth Rollins wins this championship in Night of Champions. He cannot lose that title anytime soon. If he does, people are going to trash the shit out of his run, out of the championship. It's everything about it. Seth Rollins, his hard work and him defending it and having 4- and 5-star matches is what's going to make his long run all worth it. Gunther is a perfect example. It wasn't too long ago that Shinsuke Nakamura held that Intercontinental Championship. And to me, it's the worst run in history. David Arquette could have won the fucking title. Vince McMahon, God, could have won the championship and would have had a better run than Shinsuke Nakamura. Wasn't his fault. It was the way that WWE treated the championship. But look at Gunther. Gunther has had that belt for so long, and people are like, this is the greatest run of recent memory. It's not because he's just great in the ring or intimidating. It's because the quality of his matches, the respect. In wrestling, we're watching characters. Some, it's an extension of reality on steroids, no pun intended. But you can tell when someone is just in total character, but is a total buffoon outside of pro wrestling. When Gunther talks or walks or, does an interview, it feels 100% genuine. When he cuts a promo, it feels 100% genuine. That's what's happening with Seth Rollins right now. When Seth Rollins did these recorded interviews with Corey Graves, not only is it to, cement why he should be the champion, but it also tells you why this title means something. It means something. And listen, I know about the comment that AJ Styles said over the weekend that, oh, with Roman holding the other two titles, of course this is a secondary title. Aha! Aha! Nobody's even had a run with the Raw Heavyweight Championship yet. When Seth has a run and people see it and start comparing it to Gunther's run as IC champion, you know what'll happen? 6 months from now, Raw Championship means a hell of a lot more than Roman Reigns' titles. You can't compare the Raw Heavyweight Championship now to Roman's championships. No one has won it yet. No one has had a run yet. You know, give it time. Then you can make those remarks. When AJ says it, it sounds like, ah, ha, ha. No, but he actually makes sense. So, Raw tonight, a lot of people felt that it was really about the build for two matches, Cody and Brock, Seth and AJ. And I say this with all due respect. Night of Champions is only 6 matches so far. And outside of those 2 matches on Raw, you have Natty and Rhea and Ali and Gunther. What kind of build were you expecting from those 4 individuals tonight? Ali is in the match because it's Saudi Arabia. No disrespect intended for Ali at all. If Backlash would have been in France, you think Zelina Vega would have been fighting Rhea Ripley? Maybe, possibly. You know, I'm not so sure about that. You know, so he's getting the shot because of where the event is taking place, and that's good for him. Seriously, the guy works his ass off. He's earned the opportunity. It sucks that it has to be, you know, in Saudi Arabia to get the opportunity, but you know what? He's in front of his home crowd. That's an awesome thing to do. Everybody loves to be in that position. But when people are like, oh, the build only felt like 2 matches tonight. What are the matches really you talking about? Gunther, he's going to be feuding with Riddle. After this, he's feuding with Riddle. I mean, Mustafa Ali, with all due respect, after Night of Champions, him and Gunther, you know, it's like, you know, 1910 when the train comes in. And now you're going to California and your girlfriend or whatever is staying in New York. Call me. Oh, there's no phones. Email me. There's no email. Write to me. We got pigeons. You know, that's it. You go your separate ways. That's it. What are you going to do? You're going to pay someone to walk 3,000 miles to hand deliver a note? Ali and Gunther are going their separate ways. So what kind of build did you want tonight? Plus, Rhea Ripley is probably going to squash Natalya. It'll be a little bit competitive because of it's Saudi Arabia and they want to have quality matches from beginning to end. What kind of build tonight? Seriously, with Natty. A lot of people feel like, the fuck is Natty getting a shot with Rhea in the first place? So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Some people think Mustafa Ali will win the Intercontinental Championship in Saudi Arabia. Hey, if that happens, pretty fucking cool for Mustafa Ali. I'm just not feeling it, to be honest with you. There was a lot of people that were convinced, even reporting it as news, Zelina Vega is going to win the championship. You know, hey, if you think there's going to be a title change, that's good. That means WWE is doing their job. Because we really, at the end of the day, don't want matches where we pretty much know who the outcome is going to be, unless your name is Roman Reigns. However, this weekend, either Roman Reigns or Solo Sikoa is getting pinned. I think it's going to be Solo Sikoa. You know, it wasn't too long ago that Solo Sikoa was undefeated. And then Cody broke that up on Raw, and then it happened on a few house shows. And let's start segueing, because I know we did a little opening rant, but honestly, what you see in the title for tonight's show, those are the topics we're talking about tonight. We're talking Raw, we're talking injuries, hit plug for the history show, some ratings, and that's pretty much it. And then, you know, we'll have predictions tomorrow. Wednesday will be another whole new ball game. But, you know, since we're talking about Cody and, you know, just Raw itself, I want to show you a little promo that Cody Rhodes cut over the weekend. If you remember, Roman Reigns was originally advertised for Fayetteville, North Carolina for a house show. They ended up pulling Roman Reigns from that house show. Well, Cody Rhodes main evented that house show, and then after the show was over, Cody Rhodes got on the mic and cut a promo. Obviously, he's plugging Brock Lesnar because he's fighting Brock this weekend. But he did take a shot at Roman Reigns, and I want to share it with you. I think you'll get a kick out of it.
My theory is that the reason that Roman Reigns didn't want to be here is because he is afraid of me. And that theory also extends to my opponent at Night of Champions, Brock Lesnar. I'm making a promise. The next time I come back here, my promise is this. I hope to have defeated Brock Lesnar not just once, but twice. And I also hope that I'll be wearing some gold around my waist. Thank you guys very much.
All right. Figure I'd just share with you. You probably get a kick out of it. You know, listen, the story is still the same. Now the question is, when does the story get advanced? When does it shift back to Roman Reigns? SummerSlam, Survivor Series, some people think WrestleMania 40. Whenever it happens, it'll happen. But they have not deviated from that story. So, something else I wanted to show you really quick. Oh, I got to tell you something. If you go back and you watch it, I'm telling you, write it on social media. No one else is. I caught it. I replayed it. I listened to it closely. I watched the crowd. I am 1,000% convinced. We know WWE pipes in crowd noise. We've had some fun with the soundboard in the last couple of weeks about it. Tonight, they did something that I have never noticed before. And I replayed it multiple times and I boosted it. And it is absolutely what I'm about to say. Brock Lesnar, when Mustafa Ali was cutting his promo in the back, that ever since I was a kid, this is my dream to have gold, but I've experienced failure after failure. And then Brock Lesnar walks through the segment, bumps into the cameraman, almost bumps into Mustafa Ali, and then Brock Lesnar turns back to Ali and says, "Grow up, kid." And he leaves. Brock walks to the ring before his music is played. My friends, it's not a big deal, but it's something. If you want to post something online and get a lot of credit for it, take note. You will, I'm telling you. When Brock started walking to the ring, the fans live in the audience already knew he was there. He was on the screens on the top. The fans were reacting that he was there. When he started walking down the rampway and WWE queued up his music, for a couple of seconds, maybe 2 seconds, you hear this roar, as like the surprise roar. You know, when like somebody's music hits, like when Carlito's music hit, and I mean, not to that level in Puerto Rico, but you know, when somebody's music hits and you're not expecting them and you hear that sudden roar, please go back and listen carefully. When Brock started walking down the ring, when they hit his entrance music, you hear that roar for about a second and a half, and you could audibly hear somebody in the soundboard turning that level down. It faded away not even a second after that. It blew my mind when I heard it, because I realize now that some of Brock Lesnar's intro has crowd noise, that's early sudden pop, the unexpected pop and some. Go back and check it out. I'm telling you, people are already in the chat room telling me I'm right. Somebody's actually watching it right now and saying, "Holy shit." I'm not kidding. You know, I try to be very aware about stuff like this, and I'm telling you, go see it. Nobody, I checked. Not one person picked up on it tonight. And if you do a search, especially on Twitter, no one has mentioned that in the past too. By the way, this coming Monday, we're going to have the four-way match to determine the next WWE Women's Tag Team Champions on Saturday's show. I let you all know that it was, in fact, going to be Shotzi Blackheart teaming up with Raquel Rodriguez. They did have Shotzi come out tonight. She came to the rescue of Raquel Rodriguez, who was getting, it doesn't sound appropriate, but she was getting double teamed by Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green after she defeated Sonya Deville tonight on Raw. So that is the lineup. As we discussed Saturday, Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler are the favorites to win it. I'm not going to lie, I'm personally rooting for Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green as well. I think they actually deserve to have a fun little run. Bayley and Io Sky is going to be really interesting because Bayley and Io Sky, we know that that split is happening, and we know that that falling out is coming, and we know that that turn is taking place. But there's a little problem. Maybe it's not a problem. I know this sounds kind of twisted, but maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Dakota Kai, she was the wild card in this entire storyline. We did not know if she would end up turning on Io Sky and staying aligned with Bayley, or if Dakota Kai would also turn babyface and go against Bayley. Now, everything that I was told was that she was going to stay aligned with Bayley. And Dakota Kai, unfortunately, she has not gotten to the point as a single star on the main roster that she could really go at it on her own. If you see, there is some women on that roster having a hard time, getting over with the crowd. So she likely would have turned against Io Sky as well. But now Dakota Kai has got a serious injury, a torn ACL. She is likely going to be out at minimum WrestleMania next year, maybe longer than that. No joke. And the sad part about it is it happened during the same match that we saw on SmackDown. Now, the funny thing about it is if you go back at SmackDown, not a lot of people were talking about Dakota Kai getting injured. You heard somebody scream, but we all thought it's just, them doing their match. Liv Morgan, there was some concern after the match was over. And Liv Morgan is also injured. She has a shoulder injury. We do not know if her shoulder is torn. She might need some type of labrum surgery as well. So Liv Morgan, and just so you all know, this is the reason why they waited until tonight to announce Rhea Ripley versus Natty at Night of Champions. Because originally Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler were going to take on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez at Night of Champions. When the match happened last week and the injuries took place, that was obviously put on ice. Not only that, there was some idea of Raquel Rodriguez defending the championship by herself. And if you remember last Monday's Raw, Ronda even kind of teasing it a little bit when she grabbed Raquel Rodriguez, that her partner wasn't there. So unfortunately, WWE decided against that. So instead, Rhea Ripley is going to be taking on Natalya at Night of Champions. But, what sucks about Dakota Kai's, it sucks with all three injuries. Liv Morgan, Dakota Kai, Mercedes Mone. Liv Morgan, you saw the spot where Dakota Kai hit Liv Morgan. She was in the corner and her shoulder just turned the wrong way. It's not Dakota Kai's fault. Shit happens. This is, not ballet, as Vince McMahon used to say. So she suffered the shoulder injury. They were hoping before the MRI that the injury wasn't serious. But now when they realized that she's going to be out for an extended period of time, they had to take the titles off of her and Raquel Rodriguez. She would have only been out for a couple of weeks. She probably would have kept that championship. Well, you know what? That match happened, 2 weeks ago. So by Night of Champions, it would have been 3 weeks, I think. So unfortunately, she's going to be out for a while. But I want to show you video of Dakota Kai's injury, because when you watch the match, nobody picked up on it. I'll show it to you in regular speed, and then I'll show it to you in super slow motion. And what's sad about it is Liv Morgan apparently told Dakota that she hurt her shoulder. So Liv Morgan wanted to continue in the match. Dakota Kai, when she did the move on Liv Morgan, Dakota Kai did everything she could to avoid hurting Liv Morgan's shoulder any further. And then when you watch the move in slow motion, you see Dakota Kai purposely keeping her body away from Liv Morgan's shoulder, which is admirable on Dakota Kai's part. Unfortunately, because she compensated to protect Liv Morgan, she blew out her ACL. So you got to feel for both of them. But I'm going to show you it in regular speed. And if you listen closely, you're going to hear Dakota Kai at that very end. It's very, very quick, but that scream was legit. She really, really hurt herself. You look at it full speed, you don't think much of it. But do pay attention to Liv Morgan's left shoulder and Dakota Kai's right leg as she comes down. I'll show it to you in normal speed, then I'll slow it down.
This is where the veteran instincts of Bayley really come to the fore. Oh my goodness!
You heard that at the very end? Not good, scary. Now I'm going to show it to you on slow speed. So just watch. And for those on audio only, you know, if you do want to check out this segment, it's at the 37-minute mark of the show. But here it is, very, very slowly. And again, pay attention to Liv Morgan's left shoulder and look at Dakota Kai. See her leg? Her leg was pointed almost at like a 1 o'clock position. I'll see if I could replay it again. Watch her leg. Let me rewind it. Watch Dakota Kai's right leg. It would be her right leg. We're just watching it from the opposite side. Watch her right leg and watch how she overcompensates and she lands. You land with your leg sideways, and that kind of may have been similar to what happened with Mercedes Mone when we showed you the video there. Unfortunately for Mercedes, it was her ankle. But watch again. Watch Dakota Kai's right leg. Just focus on her lower leg and look how much she compensated to prevent hitting Liv Morgan. So you got to give her props, but watch the leg. Watch right there. Yep. Just awful. So now, because of that, Bayley, Io Sky, if they're going to continue the split, now Bayley is going to be a singles competitor all by herself again. No Dakota Kai by her side. Do they delay the falling out with her and Io Sky? My gut feeling tells me no, they continue with it, because Io Sky, especially after Puerto Rico, she is so freaking over with the fans. They acknowledge her. They see how good she is. I still would love to see Io Sky and Asuka team up as a tag team. WWE is not going that route right now. I think Io Sky and Asuka as a feud could be happening sooner than later. We've seen them go at it a little bit in the ring. The problem is, in the case of both of them, neither one cuts English promos. They do understand English a little bit. Asuka could speak a little bit, but as far as their character goes, no speaking English. So that feud, just for WWE creative purposes, and this is a shot on WWE, if you look at their history, having two people feud with each other that don't cut English promos, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And in many cases, the only time you've ever seen that happen is where a wrestler doesn't even talk. Like when Kamala would feud with someone and that person would be a foreigner that didn't speak English, but Kamala didn't really talk. Even when he was a babyface, and even George the Animal Steel, he couldn't cut promos. That's what you had the managers for. All right. So that is what happened with Dakota Kai. I guess since we already talked about Liv Morgan's injury and we talked about Dakota Kai's injury, let's get into Mercedes Mone's injury. Then we'll just quickly overview Raw, do a little history plug, because this week's history show is very, very important one. Talk ratings, the top 25 list, get out of here. All right, Mercedes Mone. She obviously, by now, everybody knows she broke her ankle this weekend in California. They had the New Japan Pro Wrestling Resurgence event, and she was taking on Willow Nightingale to become the New Japan Pro Wrestling Women's Strong Champion. Now, I don't like disrespecting people when I know that sometimes they don't know the actual facts. But there's some people out there, especially when they're obsessed with that social whatever, behavior that CM Punk was talking about last week, that, you just can't say anything. And because it sounds fucking awesome, everybody goes with it. I hope somebody, I would do it, but, I hope maybe one of you do it. Jim Cornette does his mailbag every week with Brian Last. It's Jim Cornette about how pro wrestling handles audibles if somebody gets injured in the ring and the outcome is forced to be changed on the fly. I worked indies and I was involved in a lot of events. I actually managed in title matches. And I, with my own eyes, if so-and-so is supposed to win and is the champion, what happens during the match if there's a major injury? Somebody blows out their leg, something else happens. They will then do an audible and have the outcome change. Management goes over that with wrestlers. Now, it doesn't happen every time, but that is discussed. Every what if is discussed. If you're out there and you're supposed to be the winner, and what if something happens to me? What if I get seriously injured and I can't finish the match? You don't always just stop the match. And in the case of Mercedes Mone versus Willow Nightingale, all right, I'm going to show you one. And there's tons of them like this. And the scary thing about it is how many people go along with it and think that it's fact. And here's one example. I mean, you see almost 100. This was yesterday. It's over 100,000 people saw this. It's like up to 1,500 likes. And there's others out there that have 5, 6, 7,000 likes. And this person writes, the fact that Mercedes was so selfless that she made the call herself to lose the match knowing that she was injured, most of these wrestlers and their fragile egos could never. How admirable at Mercedes Mone. And that's not throwing hate on Mercedes Mone, but with all due respect, this person writing that, look at the name. I was going to block out the name because I don't want anybody throwing any shade. This is an extreme fan of Mercedes Mone. The fact of the matter is Mercedes Mone doesn't have the power to call it audible and say, Willow, you win the belt. I can't finish. You win the belt. That's not how it fucking works. But, it just sounds admirable. That's not what happened. If you look at the match yesterday, the referee was not cued in that they were going to bring it home quicker. Because when Willow hit Mercedes with the powerbomb and she pinned Mercedes, the referee stopped it too. Mercedes did not kick out. And everybody's looking at the match like, what the fuck is the referee doing? Is the referee, like, which side is he on? The referee didn't know that the match was being ended early because Mercedes got injured. He knew that there was an injury, but no, and you know why probably, guys? Language barrier. I'm not trying to throw controversy. Does that referee speak English? I'm not sure. I mean, with all due respect, I know Mercedes, has started learning Japanese, but I don't know if she's learned enough in Japanese. I don't know if, these language programs that she went to referee and said, which I guess would be, I tore something. I can't finish it. You know, you gotta count Willow. You know, that conversation did not take place. The referee stopped it too, because the referee wasn't expecting the 3 count. He still stopped. And they awarded the match to Willow Nightingale because Mercedes could not continue. But here's the injury. And I'm going to show it to you 3 times. It's only a couple of seconds. But I'm going to show it to you from a fan's cell phone video. Number one, because I don't want to use copyrighted, footage from New Japan, because, we don't know how they act with stuff like this. Number 2, it's from the side where Mercedes fell. And when I zoom in and do it slow motion, you could see how she landed on her ankle. I think something was sticking out from under that ring, and she stepped on it, and her ankle buckled and broke. So here it is on normal speed. Watch her climb the top rope. Don't worry if you really can't see it. And you see she just buckles. Her leg just completely buckles. All right. So now I'm going to show it to you a little bit slower. And then the final one, I will zoom in. This is, once again, the footage, but a little bit slower. I think it's her right leg. Watch her right leg, because she immediately could not put any weight on it. I think it was her right leg, her right ankle. So now I'm going to zoom in. And, okay, I'm going to zoom in. Pay attention to her right ankle and pay attention to the floor. You really can't see it's dark down there, but if you look at her ankle closely, it looks like she may have stepped on something and buckled. So because it's zoomed in, you're going to see her enter the picture very, very, very shortly. Now watch closely, watch very closely, and just pay attention to the feet. There she goes. Watch the foot. Watch how it lands. Boom. Boom. It looked like her foot landed and hit the canvas and stepped on something, and her ankle buckled. So, it's not too far of a drop. With all due respect, remember Randy Savage, when Randy Savage would jump over the top rope and go on the floor and hit somebody with that? It's not as far of a fall as you think it is. The funny thing is, not funny, but I didn't see the match when it first happened. And when I saw clips of the injury yesterday, I saw her from really far away, and I thought that she wasn't, she was wearing boots with a heel on it. And I was looking and I was like, what kind of boots is she wearing? Then I zoomed in and I was like, oh, okay, it's regular boots. But when she landed, it looked like she stepped on something. It's also possible that maybe the mats were a little sweaty. Maybe it was a little bit of moisture, and maybe she slid and buckled her ankle. The reason why I'm not so sure about that is because if you land, look, how many times since 1997 have I told you the story that how I broke my ankle? And it's wrestling related. When I was a teenager, back in the mid-'80s, technically a preteen, I was in Juniper Park with my friends, and we were playing wrestling. And the park that we were at, Juniper Park, had a sliding pond. You climb the steps and you slide down, and pool, they have it for pools and, whatever. So anyway, in the park, I climbed to the top of the sliding pond, and I did the Jimmy Snuka I Love You. And I jumped off to dive onto my friend. Now, even back in the 80s, the middle 80s, the parks had rubber, on the floor. So you didn't land on cement and cut your knees up and this and that. So they did have rubber padding all around the areas. You go on a sliding pond, hey, especially it's not supervised, little kids go over that sliding pond and land on cement. Lawsuits waiting to happen. So there was rubber. Problem is, my piece of shit friend, Joey, I love you, Joey, but my piece of shit friend, a bad wrestling match, I did the I Love You, and I jumped off the sliding pond, and he rolled out of the way. Probably because he was afraid that I don't want this 14-year-old fat fuck landing on me all the way from the top of a sliding pond. Fuck that. I got to go to school tomorrow. So I jumped off. He went out of the way, and I landed on my feet. I was going to land like snooker, on my knees. I had knee pads on. But when I jumped off and he moved, he didn't move at the last second. This isn't like pro wrestling timing where I jumped and then at the very last second he moved out of the way. As I got to the top and as soon as I started going off, he got out of there. So I landed straight down and my ankle went like this. The minute I landed, my ankle went like that. If I would have landed first and then my ankle, I probably would have just twisted it. At worst, maybe sprain it. Any of you out there ever walk down a couple of stairs and you miss a step and you land on your ankle and you twist it? I've been guilty of that many times. When you jump that high, the fact that she broke her ankle, she had to have landed on something that immediately caused her ankle to go sideways. So, we wish her the best, but she was in the hospital yesterday. There's a touching story. Feifel was the one that put it out yesterday. Tamina was backstage showing support for her friend. And Tamina basically helped her and did everything, got her stuff together and, helped her and brought her I think she brought her to the hospital too. I think she might have went in the ambulance, but Tamina, she's getting a lot of love from the wrestling world right now for being there for Mercedes. So we wish her the best, but, she's going to be out of action for quite some time. Hopefully she doesn't need pins and screws. That sucks because then, you're dealing with something that you're probably going to have pain, for a very long time. Pins and screws are no joke. So hopefully, the break wasn't a, complete break, but she does have a broken ankle. She will be out of action for quite some time. So we wish her the best. Dakota Kai, Liv Morgan, we wish them all the best. Tonight on Raw, they were trying to tease a little doubt that Cody Rhodes wasn't going to Saudi Arabia. God bless those journalists out there. Oh, my sources told me that something's going to change with Night of Champions. Something big is happening. Unless it was Rhea Ripley versus Natty. They were planting. Again, it's the Dusty story. Cody early on shows up in the building. Brock Lesnar attacks him, beats the balls off of Cody. I don't care how much you train and how many decades you wrestle and how talented you are. Getting thrown into those ladders, like Brock tossed Cody into those ladders, throwing him into a bunch of kegs that even if they're empty, they still fucking hurt. This isn't like a Mario video game where, a Donkey Kong is throwing these barrels and you just jump over them. Those barrels hurt. And then Brock throws one of the fucking barrels into Cody's shoulder. Brock beat the shit out of Cody. And listen, for anybody who was watching Raw tonight and thought early on, wait a minute, did Cody injure himself over the weekend? Is there something going on? Did he get hurt training? Because later on in the night when Brock Lesnar came out, as I told you earlier, to an interesting crowd pop manufactured, Brock is in the ring. Brock says, so Hershey, what do you want to talk about? And the crowd boos, and Brock is like, I'd boo Cody too if I were you. He was a poet too. So Brock is like, bad news, everyone. Cody is not wrestling at Night of Champions. Bad news, Cody is not coming out tonight. And Brock Lesnar announces that he's still going to Night of Champions, but he has an open challenge. And he has anybody in the back, whoever wants to step up, all you got to do is come out there, face me in the ring, and you can fight me at Night of Champions. And he did it so beautifully in real time, I'm watching online and people like, oh, fuck. Some people like, who's going to come out? Who's going to go? It was so well done that you really thought that somebody's music was going to hit and challenge Brock Lesnar at Night of Champions. But instead, Cody comes out. He's got the sling. He's got the ice pack. And again, you know, not going to knock young wrestling fans because they didn't live through it back in the Dusty era. But this is exactly what they're doing. You know, Cody rips the sling off, throws the ice on the floor. He's holding his shoulder. He's getting into the ring. And what does Brock Lesnar do? Brock Lesnar's laughing. It's like, what are you, stupid? Are you nuts? And it almost looked like a duel. It almost looked like a duel with cowboys. If you know, when they used to, because Cody rips the sling off, tosses it on the floor. Then he takes the ice pack and throws it on the floor. Brock Lesnar takes his cowboy hat off and throws it on the floor. And to me, I was like, what are we, in like a saloon in the 1800s? That they're removing, like, just mano a mano. And then Brock locks the Kimura lock. Come on, Cody, fight me. And Cody selling it, writhing in pain, and Brock with the Kimura. And then just like Brock has done in the past, that little extra jerk. If you remember when Brock took on Roman last year, remember? My arm is gone. Remember when Brock did what he did? But this was beautifully done. Then after it's over, Adam Pearce is in the ring. I need medical. Medical, get out here. I need medical. He's saying over and over again, and Brock he takes his cowboy hat on, puts it back on, and he walks out. Crowd is eating Brock alive. It's really hot in this room. If you see why, it's really hot. Excellent segment. I got to be honest with you. Maybe the Seth Rollins interview, that's probably the two highlights of Raw tonight. After that, you know, tonight's Raw was a little bit of a mess. I mean, let's be honest. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, you know, I'm happy that they're the tag champs. I'm happy that they main evented WrestleMania despite all of the nonsense people were feeding up until the night of. You know, it's not their fault that people are really starting to get bored and falling out of favor with those tag titles. It seems like they may be feuding with Judgment Day in the near future. We thought it was going to be Imperium, but I think that was done by design to more set up Riddle versus Gunther. But Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, they come out there, they cut a promo, and they're going to dedicate their match to the true pillars of the bloodline, Jimmy and Jey Uso. And before you know it, here comes Imperium. They surround the ring. And before they could do anything, here comes Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle is the third man for the match tonight, sets up the main event. Imperium backs off, and they leave. So the main event tonight is Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Matt Riddle versus Imperium. Again, it just was a match. Like, if you've watched, you know, their matches before WrestleMania, after WrestleMania, it, like, you could almost dictate everything that was going to happen. You know, I'm not bored of the matches, but there's nothing memorable about the matches. Like, tell me why this feels any different from a month ago. You know, just because it's Imperium out there instead of Judgment Day, it goes through the same motions. The only difference tonight is, you know, Matt Riddle didn't lose because WWE is just too many times had Matt Riddle lose. Before he left for a few months, you know, what was our biggest complaint? He fucking loses all the time. He comes back and you figure, yo, all right, they're going to bring him back. He's a little more serious. He's not the, you know, the Randy stuff. And they had him lose over and over and over and over again. You think in storyline, especially with Backlash, why would Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn want Matt Riddle as their partner? So they win tonight. That's good. But the main event tonight just felt like a SmackDown main event. Any Raw over the last 2 months, it's getting old. It's getting a little tiresome. And it shouldn't, because these guys work great in the ring. Watching Gunther going at it with Sami Zayn was fun. Watching Gunther going at it with Riddle is a little tease of what's going to happen in the future. Giovanni Vinci takes the pin once again. That keeps happening. Now, because we've talked about our desire to have Ilya Dragunov be, replacing Giovanni Vinci and Imperium. I don't think that's happening anytime soon, But that was your main event tonight. And honestly, I wasn't into it. I really wasn't. I was preparing for the show. I'm watching it. I'm listening to it. I'm taking notes, this and that. I'm like, it just feels like any other show. Like if I missed the main event tonight and you would have run it down to me, I would have said, oh, it's pretty much like any other night. Only no Usos this time around. The Usos may not be attacking Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn much anymore, if you haven't figured it out. And something obviously will go awry in Saudi Arabia that will cause Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns to lose. That's my early prediction. I know there's a lot of you out there that think that Roman and Solo will end up being tag team champions, and that's fine. That's totally fine. So Brock beats the balls out of Cody. Later on, they go at it. And I know we're going back and forth, but it's the only way to keep some of this kind of interesting with Raw tonight. The very end, after the match is over, I go in this room to start the show, and I look at the clock, and I'm like, wait, it's only 10:56. We still got 4 minutes left of Raw. I was like, oh, shit, Cody. So earlier in the night, after Cody is locked in the Kimura lock, Adam Pearce, the trainers, the referees, doctors, they're all trying to get to Cody Rhodes. He's pissed off. He's angry. He won't let anybody in the room. He doesn't want to let anybody know about his injury. Adam Pearce has an audible. He gets on the phone. That's it. You get on the phone. You're talking to the big boss. So we realized later on that Adam Pearce was talking to Triple H. So to close out Raw tonight, Cody Rhodes is in the dressing room and Triple H comes in. Triple H is pretty much trying to tell Cody, look, Cody, you have nothing to prove. You're this, you're that, and Cody is like, I'm going to Night of Champions. You're not going to talk me out of it. Triple H, what would you have done in my position? You, of all people, would not have stepped aside. And Triple H, gets Cody a little bit triggered by saying, Cody, I understand you're afraid. And Cody thinks he's talking about Brock. Cody's like, afraid of what? I want to fight this guy. And Triple H's like, no, afraid that if I bring a trainer in this room, he's going to say that your arm is broken and I can't let you compete at Night of Champions. I don't understand why they didn't just go the unsanctioned match route, guys. I think that would have been the easy way to resolve this. They could have done simply like, look, if you're not going to let, maybe because they ran out of time, they could have said like, look, if you will not let us evaluate you, then, this is a no sanction match. We cannot sanction this. We cannot be responsible what happens. The reason why they may also not have done an unsanctioned match is because this is Saudi Arabia and maybe they don't want these guys brawling all over the building. You know what I mean? I mean, we've seen crazy shit happen in Saudi Arabia. If you remember Bray and other matches, but this time around, they probably want to do a little more storytelling inside the ring. Plus, with a Brock Lesnar match, we don't know. They usually don't last an awful long time. So, Cody ends up, I think convincing Triple H that he's going to fight. He's like, look, I got 2 legs. I can still walk to the ring. My other arm is good. Don't worry about me, this and that. I'm a fighter. I have to do this. And Triple H is like, look, you were out for a year. You do this and you're out for another year and another this and that. And basically when Cody says to Triple H, if you were in my position, you of all people, what would you have done? And Triple H just looks at him, gives him a tap on the good shoulder. Basically, I think giving him his blessing, like, all right, I'm going to let you do it. So Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar will be taking place. And let me tell you something. I know this build has been slow Because up until 2 weeks ago, we've been wanting some crazy confrontation between the two. That pull apart in the middle of the ring, which should have been done a week or two earlier than it happened. But the way this has been built to Saturday, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. There is so much suspension of disbelief that Cody has a bad shoulder right now. And you know Brock is seeing blood in the water. Brock is going to immediately go for the shoulder. They're telling the story, and Cody's going to sell it like $1 million. The only question is, will Cody Rhodes prevail? Could they do something where Cody just passes out from the pain? I could see that happening too. Brock could very well win at Night of Champions, but Cody could say, I never gave up. I never submitted. I passed out. Remember Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13? Steve Austin just passed out. So I got some thinking to do between tonight and tomorrow, because tomorrow night, Tuesday night, Kevin and I are doing predictions. So for me right now, it's either Cody wins or Cody passes out from the pain, doesn't get pinned or submits, passes out, and they award the match to Brock Lesnar. That's where I'm torn right now. So I got to think about it a little bit more. Okay, kind of little stupidity. Bronson Reed looked dapper in the suit tonight. Gave me a little 80s nostalgia, little 80s flashback. He's cutting a promo because he's taking on Ricochet tonight, and he beats him, squashes Ricochet with the tsunami. It was a fun, competitive match. Bronson Reed, I think crowd is starting to warm up on Bronson Reed. The only thing I didn't like about it was Bronson Reed cutting a promo saying, hey, Ricochet, actions have consequences. I should be taking on Gunther at Night of Champions. And I'm thinking to myself, Mustafa Ali eliminated both of you. So, yeah, if you want to split hairs here, Bronson Reed's promo was kind of goofy because he should have attacked Mustafa Ali, not Ricochet. But, it is what it is. So Bronson Reed defeats Ricochet with the tsunami. Apollo Crews, little backstage segment. He's happy to be at Raw. Interrupted by Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio. Rhea Ripley grabs the microphone. Apollo, interview over. And she addresses Natty. You got involved in my shit. So at Night of Champions, I'm going to beat your ass. She didn't say it like that, but that's pretty much what she was saying. So as soon as she makes the challenge, Apollo grabs the microphone back. And Apollo's like, look, Rhea, with all due respect, this is my time. And Dominic is like, how dare you disrespect Mommy like that? And Apollo says, what are you going to do about it? And Rhea Ripley says, he'll fight you in the ring tonight. And I don't know if you noticed it. I noticed it. I loved it. When Rhea Ripley told Apollo that Dom Dom was going to face him in the ring tonight, if you think over the years the way WWE treats some young chicken shit heels, Dominic would have had a look on his face of a little bit of reluctance. Zero tonight. When Rhea Ripley told Apollo that Dom Dom was going to face him tonight, Dominic looked right at Apollo Crews and smiled. Sure, they had a master plan, but Dominic, big smile on his face. Yeah, I'll fight you tonight. 100% going along with it. No sign of, all right, and later on, unfortunately, and I got to be honest with you, especially that Apollo Crews has been in NXT, especially that Apollo Crews just returned to the main roster. I wish they would have done a count-out victory tonight. I don't understand why they didn't do a count-out victory. We had a fun match between Dominic and Apollo. Rhea's at ringside. Rhea Ripley gets involved in the latter part of the match. Basically what happens is Apollo is outside the ring with Dominic. And Rhea Ripley with a little bit of a distraction, and this gives enough time for Dominic to get a little bit of, of his mind back, gets his himself together, and he pulls Apollo Crews into the corner ring steps. Okay, fine. Not a big deal. So Dominic Mysterio re-enters the ring, and Dominic distracts the referee. So Rhea Ripley then proceeds to take Apollo Crews, throw him in the opposite ring post. And Apollo's laid out outside the ring. And the referee, 3, 4. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know what? Count out victory, fine. At least Apollo didn't get pinned. No. Apollo Crews gets back in the ring at the count of 9. And with him on his stomach facing the mat, Dominic Mysterio does a frog splash 3/4 of the way to the opposite side of the ring, lands it, and pins Apollo Crews. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, man, like, I'm happy for Dominic, but I would have preferred Apollo Crews to just get counted out, and that's it. But they went the extra step and had Dominic pin him. Apollo Crews, listen, it's only one match, and I'm sure he'll pick up a win the next time around. But to me, it just felt like it was unnecessary tonight. I don't think anybody would have had a problem if it was a count-out victory. I don't think anybody would have had a problem. Alpha Academy defeats the Viking Raiders. And I need you all to go back and rewind something tonight. Because if it's what I thought I heard, I think the Viking Raiders are fried. I think they're done. Valhalla's got to cut a new promo. Collision is here. Maxine Dupree is now aligning herself with Alpha Academy. She's been with Otis, but now they're baby faces. And the Maximum Male Models online have been throwing a lot of shade towards Maxine Dupree. They're now putting snakes on pictures to say, oh, that's Maxine Dupree. So Maxine Dupree is leaving Maximum Male Models for Alpha Academy. Tonight, they were in sync. She was the manager, and Alpha Academy are playing baby faces. They're having a match with Viking Raiders. Otis showing off how strong he is. Body slams Ivar. We had fun moment. He does the caterpillar as well. But something happened that really pissed me off. And it happened after the match was over. Chad Gable gets knocked on his ass by Eric. I think a knee to Eric. Eric knees him, knocks him on his ass. So the Viking Raiders, Ivar setting on the top rope, and Eric picks up Chad Gable to hit their finisher. And next thing you know, Valhalla and Maxine Dupree are arguing outside the ring. And Valhalla starts chasing Maxine Dupree up the rampway. So the Viking Raiders get distracted, and it was enough time for Chad Gable to regain his composure, and he kicks Ivar off the rope, and then he rolls up Eric for the win. And the Maximum Male Models, they're losing Maxine Dupree. Alpha Academy has got a new valet, and they actually work good tonight together. I liked it tonight, except for one thing. When they walked up the rampway, you got to go back and rewind this, please, because I know I heard it. I rewound it, and I heard it, and I was like, the Viking Raiders are done. Think about the Viking Raiders characters. Think about all the vignettes, fire, raw meat, animals, sacrifice. I mean, not together, but you know what I mean. The Viking Raiders. Valhalla. Look up the meaning of Valhalla. As Alpha Academy is walking up the rampway, one of the Viking Raiders said 2 or 3 times, "That's not honor." Maybe someone can tell me, maybe I'm misinterpreting it. Maybe he's saying something else and I'm just hearing it wrong. But I could swear I rewound it and I heard it multiple times, and I'm like, no, he's saying over and over again, that's not honor. That's not honor. The way they won the match. That's not honor. The fuck are the Viking Raiders talking about honor? Please go back. Rewind it. I know I always tell you, post a comment in the comment section. And I know a lot of you out there, especially if you're watching on a Roku or an iPhone, it's not easy to post comments. I get it. But if somebody out there, if you go in the comment section, let me know if I heard what I am saying that I heard. Because if that's the case, the Viking Raiders are done. They're done. That's not honor. It takes all of their vignettes and flushes it down the toilet. That's it. Mediocrity is here. It's been here for a while. And I don't normally get that negative, but that's not honor. What the fuck is that? Why is that being said out of the Viking Raiders' mouth? But again, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. I even wrote in capital letters, did Eric just say that's not honor in big capital letters? Jinder Mahal, very, very short promo tonight. He basically just talks about how, that Indus Sher is here and basically just predicting, what their demise. What did he say? He said, I'm looking for it. Wait. Oh, here it is. He says, the storm is here. Jinder Mahal said a couple of things in a different language that I didn't understand, but he did say in English, the storm is here. Look, I'm happy that Indus Sher is on the main roster. I think Indus Sher is going to take over where the Viking Raiders were supposed to be. I think they're going to be the next Giants. Who knows? Maybe they end up feuding with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I don't know if anybody's going to buy into that. That would be something, man. You imagine after all of this, that Veer Mahan could possibly be one half of the team that dethrones Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I still don't think that's going to happen. I'm still convinced that a SmackDown team is going to beat Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for one of those sets of belts first. Then they'll have just the Raw Tag Team Championships, and then they'll remain on Raw, and then you'll have SmackDown with their tag titles again. No, we did not get any JD McDonough tonight. Listen, I saw stuff online. You can't pay attention to, our sources hear this, because sources were telling you that Finn Balor was taking on Riddle. Sources were telling you that there was going to be other matches that did not take place. And then this is how to get away with it. Oh, well, the script changed tonight. Fucking Vince had his face. That's the easy way out. They guess what the matches were going to have. You know what the funny thing is? This is how stupid they were. There was an episode of Raw Talk where Shinsuke was mocking Finn Balor and Damian Priest. And Damian Priest, doing his Ricky Ricardo impersonation, starts talking Spanish, and Finn is like, listen, go take a shot at tequila. Relax. I got this. After I get through with Shinsuke, I might leave a little bit of Shinsuke left over so Damian Priest could have the bones. It was fucking recorded days ago. So you knew that Nakamura was taking on Finn. And yet still, I'm a boozer, baby. So why don't you kill me? Oh, yeah, Finn Balor's taking on Riddle. Yeah. And Santa Claus is going to take on the Easter Bunny. They got so much shit wrong. I don't pay attention to that stuff. Stop reading those people. They hear 2-3 things, and they think they got all the scoops, and half of the time they're wrong. And then let's just blame it on Vince. Oh, Vince changed the script. It was originally supposed to be this. So anyway, and there was no need for JD McDonough tonight. We got Night of Champions this weekend. Put JD McDonough next week. Next week, we got Money in the Bank qualifying matches starting. So I'm sure he will be involved in those matches. And who knows, maybe JD McDonough will end up being in the Money in the Bank ladder match. We'll see what happens. That starts next week, by the way. Zoe Stark over Candice LeRae. Pretty quick match. Candice LeRae, unfortunately, you kind of saw this a mile away that, pun intended, you saw it a mile away that, it feels like it was destined that Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell, doing their shtick on the main roster was going to end up being their path. And I'm not saying, listen, Johnny Gargano's awesome. Johnny Gargano is still going to have a nice run on the main roster. But Dexter Lumis, we talked about it with the Battle Royal last week. When he did what he did with Marseille and Moonsoir, and there was no reaction whatsoever. They turned, and he used to be one of my favorites in NXT. And they've turned him into like a clown. Honestly, put it this way. If you look at Dexter Lumis on the main roster, all of his highlights where he's at his best have nothing to do with in the ring, have nothing to do with his matches. Hey, not everybody that's on the show is destined to be an in-ring superstar. There's enough room for other stuff, but problem is Candice LeRae gets caught in that, and just like Michin and a few others, they have no momentum whatsoever. So she loses to Zoe Stark tonight. Match was okay, but it didn't last all that long. Finn Balor beat Shinsuke Nakamura, as we were talking earlier. It set up the match tonight. This was an excellent match. I mean, I know people were having fantasies of the New Japan style on Raw, and you got little hints here and there, but it's got the sports entertainment feel to it. Damian Priest getting involved. It was still a really competitive match. Unfortunately, Shinsuke gets the loss. And, to justify it, Damian Priest got involved repeatedly. Damian Priest at one point is outside the ring, and Shinsuke decides to, start wailing on Damian Priest, throws him over the barricade, and with Shinsuke not looking, Finn Balor with a really nice drop kick, knocking Shinsuke into that barricade. Looked beautiful. But he throws him back in the ring, hits the coup de grace, gets the win. So Shinsuke, did he need the win tonight more than Finn Balor? Maybe. But because Damian Priest got involved, you best damn believe we're going to get Damian Priest versus Shinsuke Nakamura in the near future. And who knows, maybe Finn Balor will that time cause the interference and Damian Priest will get the win. What other matches did we get tonight? As I said earlier, Raquel Rodriguez over Sonya Deville. After the match is over, Chelsea Green and Sonya are beating down Raquel. Shotzi Blackheart makes the save, and she is now the tag team partner of Raquel Rodriguez, and she will be in the match next week to determine the new women's tag champs. Shotzi looked good for the little bit of offense that she did tonight. I always root for Shotzi. She has had some momentum and it gets derailed a little bit. So, I think her with Raquel Rodriguez will be a lot of fun. It gives me more NXT vibes than anything else. I actually would have preferred Shotzi as Raquel's tag partner instead of Liv Morgan. From the beginning, I still wish Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss would have been a long-term tag team. I think both of them together are perfect because both of them, not having to be featured in a singles match, teaming with each other, it hides. And I think Liv Morgan has progressed a hell of a lot more than Alexa Bliss has in the last couple of years. That's not saying Alexa Bliss is bad, but I think Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan would have been an awesome tag team. So we had a couple of segments tonight with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins talking early on about Roman Reigns. He's with Corey Graves, and he says, I love Roman Reigns, but I don't like Roman Reigns. I will always have love for that man. He was there for me when I needed him. He was there for me when no one else was. But the person and the champion he has become, I have no respect for that. Seth Rollins says Roman is poisoned by his own ego, and he feels that Roman Reigns is taking championship opportunities away from others. He wants to become a world heavyweight champion so we could all forget about Roman Reigns. Again, that is how you get this title over. Seth Rollins has earned it. Later on in the night, Seth Rollins talking about how he wants to be that guy in the future when the company needs somebody to help them go forward, that he is the choice. Remember that interview that he had with Ariel Helwani not too long ago, about the fact that Roman was the the one handpicked to be that guy, and Seth Rollins wasn't that guy. And that pisses Seth Rollins off. They showed footage tonight of AJ Styles and Seth Rollins wrestling each other on the Indies in 2006, which was pretty cool. But Seth Rollins, he says he wants to be the champion to push the industry forward. He says somebody has to carry the torch once he's gone, once Roman Reigns is gone, has nothing but respect for AJ Styles, one of the greatest of all time, truly special. But he's at the top of his game, Seth Rollins. He doesn't want to jinx himself, but he feels he's invincible. He wants to be number one. He says it's time for change. Wrestling is his first love ever since, I think he said he was 4 years old. He said pro wrestling's given him a life beyond his wildest dreams. He just wants to see it be the best that it can be. And he closes by saying, this is our moment to do something special. I'm putting all of my cards in. I'm going all in. And I'm going to give it every last thing that I've got. I am Seth Rollins. I am the change you've been waiting for. In the future, I want to be looked at that guy as that guy, the one that can move things forward. It was great. I'm sold. I'm absolutely sold. His match with AJ Styles is probably going to be the match of the night. And I'm excited to see what happens on Raw with this championship. I hope 3 to 6 months from now, people will say, you know what? Him and Gunther, they have had awesome reigns with their championships. But also keep in the back of your mind that, you know, a lot of the way Roman Reigns is being used, that's WWE. In fact, all of it. I mean, Roman Reigns obviously limited schedule because of health, because of age, because of wear and tear. Totally understandable. But WWE is the one that is deciding who he feuds with, what his matches are. You know, so blame this on WWE. Remember, we compared it to Brock Lesnar from several years ago, and people were catching on to that late, but that is part of it. Theme Parks with Johnny, shout out to you. He says a hurt Cody is going to beat Brock clean, and we will see a really pissed off Brock in the coming months. And he also hopes everybody's having a fun day. So that's pretty awesome. Listen, as far as predictions with Cody Rhodes, you know, I'm undecided. You know, if Cody passes out, you know, that kind of satisfies Brock. But it's kind of reversed now. See, Brock, the way that he lost and how his face was busted up, Brock wanted the rematch, wanted to kill Cody. So now if Cody passes out, Brock is kind of content, but Cody is not. So Cody, you almost feel like they got to go to the third match. You almost feel like they got to go to the third match. If Cody beats Brock a second time, I mean, does anybody expect Brock to just say, okay, he beat me? You know what I mean? So the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of leaning to Cody Rhodes passing out and Brock Lesnar getting the win. And then Cody comes out on Raw. I never quit. I never passed out, you know, and we'll see where it goes from there. So a couple of super shout outs before we start wrapping up tonight's show. Yes, we'll talk about Becky and Trish. Farid Aiz, keep up the good work, DT. You need to do a show live in Toronto. Thank you for the 14 spot, my friend. I want to go to Canada. You know, I actually almost went to Canada about 5-6 years ago, and things just blew up at the time. It just, you know, didn't go through. You know, you talk to friends, you talk to people in the, you know, podcasting world. Oh yeah, I'm there. Let's do it, this and that. And then you start planning, and then, oh, I can't. Oh, I forgot I got this to do. Is this to do? So, hey, if there's something in the future with Canada and I could possibly go, absolutely would love to go to Canada. Absolutely. I wish I could go to All In Wembley. Even though I did see some weird, wild footage online today. If you go on Twitter, search Wembley, you'll see the video. Apparently there's a lot of crazy unrest even around the Wembley area. And some people would jump today, attacked, mob, beat up somebody. And I'm saying to myself, oh, can you imagine in a couple of months, you know, listen, I think everybody going all in, they'll probably be able to take care of themselves. But, you know, the whole world is kind of fucked up right now. Let's be honest. Let's not lie. Eric Williams with a birthday shout out to Nero Faye. I did not know it was Near's birthday. Happy birthday, Near. Hope he is doing well. I don't know if he's with us live tonight. He lives in Israel, so there is a pretty substantial time change. It might be like 4 or 5 in the morning over there right now. So, Near, if you see this later on, we all wish you a happy birthday. Eric sends a special birthday wish for you. And Sticky Fingers Frank with a 5 spot. Thank you, Frank. The Becky Lynch Trish Stratus feud has been horrendous. The contract signing tonight was cringe. What is that match going to look like at Night of Champions, Don Tony? Listen, I gave Trish the benefit of the doubt 3 or 4 weeks ago when she cut that promo. She hasn't been a heel for 15 plus years, I think. She hasn't had to go out to the live crowd and cut a promo like that in a very long time. It's not simply just riding a bike that, you know, you still got it. You go out there, you know, it doesn't always happen that way. So I kind of gave her a pass the first time around. What I'm left with in this feud is, see, you almost feel like Becky Lynch should have been the heel here. Last year, it worked with Lita. Lita got the Saudi payday. If you remember, there was a lot of people saying, oh, Lita can't wait the summer. She's got to go for the title and this and that. And most of us were like, oh, that's cute. They think Lita's going to be sticking around for a while. And Lita, even on social media, if I recall last year, like, guys, I'm here. I'd love to do it. You know, it's up to them. And you saw how the rest of last year turned out. When we got closer to WrestleMania, she magically appeared. To me, it's the same thing about Trish Stratus. People all across the news world a month ago were saying Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, SummerSlam. Everything that I heard, Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, Saudi Arabia. Trish Stratus was getting the payday that Lita got last year. This year, it's Trish's turn. Did not hear anything about SummerSlam, and I've said it repeatedly at that time. We ended up being right, but I will say this. Could you imagine if Saudi Arabia wasn't happening and they would have tried to milk this to SummerSlam? This has not been good. And Trish looks fabulous. Becky looks fabulous. Unfortunately, though, they're too calm. They're too mellow. It kind of reminds me of Charlotte and Rhea Ripley before WrestleMania. Do you remember, oh, Charlotte, you think that I'm not ready, but at WrestleMania, I will show you, Charlotte, that I am the present and you are the past. That is my Rhea Ripley impersonation. I'm not making fun of her, but point was, we were like, the hell is this? Beat each other up. Remember a week before WrestleMania, 2 weeks before, they beat the balls out of each other ringside. That's what we wanted. Remember that? Oh, Charlotte, I am Monday Night Raw, and I'm going to show you at WrestleMania that it is my time, and I have worked very hard. Beat the fuck. You're not doing that with Trish Stratus. She's not in that mode. She's going to do street fights and this and that. So we're kind of like getting Rhea Ripley and Charlotte at that time. The problem is we ain't getting no street fight with Becky and Trish before Night of Champions. Instead, it's that. Trish, because Trish, thank you, Trish. You are everything that I'm not. Because you're vapid and I'm passion. You're trash and I'm fashion. You're cold and I'm hot. I'm it and you're not. Quote the Becky, nevermore. I felt like I was listening to Andrew Dice Clay nursery rhymes tonight. Hickory dickory dock. I'm going to beat you Saturday at 1 o'clock. The clock struck 2. DT's not talking about goo because this is more of a PG show. We don't talk about cock. The segment tonight was not good. Did not like it at all. I did like the interaction with Trish and Adam Pearce, though, when Trish is wearing a shirt that says, thank you, Trish. And Trish is like, look, I made time for my schedule, you know, this and that. And Adam's like, oh, thank you, Trish. He's like, oh, yeah. And Trish Stratus tells Adam Pearce, listen, I think tonight we should have a no-touch policy. Let's save it for Saturday. And Adam Pearce, he's like, hey, I got all my hands full with this Cody Rhodes stuff and this and that. All right, no touching tonight. No touching tonight. So that's what we had. We had them have their confrontation. I think the big deal about tonight was Becky Lynch with these glasses. Yeah, I know I'm an old person, but for me, it gave me Grand Wizard vibes. I know they're supposed to be fingers. I think it's supposed to be this. Why do you keep calling? All right, Wizard. All right. I think it's supposed to be like this. You know, like you're hiding, you go like this, like you're just peeking. I think that's what those glasses were tonight. But I got to be honest with you. I hope we're done. I hope Becky and Trish are done after this. Could Lita make an appearance Saturday? Yeah, I think Lita might make the trip. Saudi Arabia's got so much money, everyone. They have trillions of trillions. So maybe Lita doesn't get the big payday like last year because Lita is more of a bystander, but I can picture, oh, listen, you know, we had an injury. Ronda, unfortunately, is not going to be able to, you know, fight for the tag championship because Saudi loves their Ronda Rousey. Oh, that's not very good. Well, I got an idea. What if not only do you get Trish for nostalgia this year, what if we bring Lita back again? Oh, tell me more. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lita gets involved. And listen, if Lita gets involved Saturday and allows Becky to win, I think Trish and Lita, bye-bye. And I would love for them to stick around, but it's just not clicking. I don't think anybody really wanted to heel Trish Stratus. And Trish Stratus is not bad as a heel. She's got that, you know, blonde Karen look about her that, you know, would embarrass you. Like if you're even if you're in a gym rehabbing from like a stroke, you know, and you couldn't lift if you dropped something on the floor, like, you know what I mean? Like she's got that look that she would kind of like, you know, and she's not like that. I want to make this clear. Trish Stratus is such a nice, I don't know her personally, but everybody that knows her adores her. There ain't nothing. I think that's why it's so hard to buy into this, because we know what Trish is in 2023. Last year it worked because Lita was the babyface and Becky was the heel. This year it's just, I don't know. To me, it's not working. Got to be honest with you. So, all right, that was your Raw tonight. Main event results: Tegan Knox over Dana Brooke, Nikki Cross over Emma. So, right now we have 6 matches lined up for Night of Champions. Once again, Kevin and I will be doing predictions tomorrow. It'll be on DonTony.com around midnight, and you know, we'll see what happens. Patreon are definitely welcome to join us tomorrow if you'd like. I'll tell you something about Drew McIntyre, if anybody's interested. When WWE posted over the weekend who is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's tag partner going to be, Drew McIntyre actually retweeted it. It's the first time Drew McIntyre has tweeted anything on Twitter since when he went dark. And then he deleted the tweet. So if you go to his Twitter right now, you won't see it, but enough people got the screenshot. So Drew McIntyre retweeted it just to fuck around with the internet, Because a lot of people like, oh, Drew McIntyre is going to team up and this and that. It was common sense. It was Matt Riddle all along. So, but hey, to me, that's a good sign with Drew McIntyre. Again, his contract's not up until next year. Extra time added on because of injury. They're in the middle of, merging, Endeavor and WWE. So he understands it's business. He understands why they can't it's not like Maury from Goodfellas. Vince, I want my money. I want my money. Well, not right now. Right now, we're working on it. I want my money. This is not like a bad episode of Goodfellas. Drew knows that he's got to wait. Please be patient. So I think Drew will be back before you know it. So what else we got? Oh, very quickly. The history show. And then we'll do the top 25 ratings. We'll get into quickly now, and then we'll get out of here. So we got ratings, top 25, predict the history show. Check out some of the screenshots from this week's history show. Do I need to show you anything else? Arn Anderson was urinated on in an episode of WWE Raw. I think it was Raw. Anybody remember when Arn Anderson got pissed on? Yes, that is a screenshot from WWE TV. We covered it on a history show, this week's episode. Also, unfortunately, is the tragic death of Owen Hart that happened this week. Scott Hall showing up on WCW Nitro. You want a war? You want a war? You got one. Why Dusty Rhodes is posing like that in front of Hollywood, I can't say. You're going to have to tune in to find out. Lex Luger with a championship, Slamboree 94. The American Badass debuted this week. Batista quitting once again. That happened this week too. Oh, look, some vintage AJ Styles. Joey Buttafuoco fighting Johnny Laura, God rest his soul. Trish Stratus. Yeah, are you stratified? That actually was a lot of fun memories from that. And one of my favorite moments in the history of pro wrestling. When Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Iron Sheik got pulled over on the New Jersey Turnpike, caught with drugs, bitter enemies at the time. Oh, my car broke down and he is the only person that came by and he's a scumbag. I remember, this was so fucking hard to get. I have footage of the Iron Sheik at the courthouse when this all went down. And I share with everybody on this episode. You will hear footage you've never heard before. And the Iron Sheik trying to justify this, I think this was 1987, around that time. It's pretty fucking wild. McMahon's Millions. Hey, is that CM Punk getting his hair cut? Yeah, so this week's episode is one of the real fun ones. In fact, you know what's on the episode too? And I actually caught myself listening to the whole thing again. The night that Vince McMahon, Eric Bischoff, and Paul Heyman were all in the ring together on Raw, hyping up ECW One Night Stand. Those three cut promos on each other that night. One of the most entertaining moments in Raw history for me. And I play it in its entirety. So definitely check out. This episode will drop Tuesday afternoon at 4:00 on DonTony.com. Let me give you quick ratings. We'll get into the top 25. We'll get out of here. All right, Raw last week, still pretty consistent. Last week did 1,716,000, down slightly from the week prior is 1,786,000. And their average has been about 1,780,000 for the last 4 or 5 weeks. No MLW on Reels for the foreseeable future. NXT last week did 564,000. That is down from the week prior, 601. I don't believe AEW All Access was on last week. Dynamite last Wednesday did 814,000 viewers. That is down from the week prior, 877. The high point of Dynamite last week was the backstage segment where the Blackpool Combat Club attacked the Young Bucks in the parking lot with a garage. Wardlow and Arn Anderson went on Anderson like a girl threw that ice bag against the wall. And Sammy Guevara versus Exodus Prime, that quarter did 876. The low quarter of the night, believe it or not, MJF's promo, which really wasn't a promo. He just knocked the mic out of Renee's hands. And Ricky Starks versus Jay White. You go, Jay White. 753,000 viewers. Not very good. New Japan last week did 51,000 viewers. That is up from the week prior, 47,000. Impact Wrestling last week, again, 3 weeks of Trinity, 3 weeks of no bounce whatsoever. 109,000 viewers. That is down from the week prior, is 115. Their 18 to 49 is pathetic. You know, we talk about Dynamite being like 0.28, and I think SmackDown like 0.45 and Raw like 0.50. Impact is 0.02. That is 25 times less than Raw, 15 times less than AEW. I don't understand why they can't get some viewers. Impact has been good. I mean, you don't see me shitting on any of the product right now. I've watched enough Impact for the last 4 or 5 months. It's been good. And Trinity's match last week against Kylan King was good. No boost at all. 0. Rampage last week, 293,000, up from the week prior, 284. I think that added like 6:30 at night, so not the normal time slot. SmackDown last week did 2,133,000, almost in line with the week prior, 2,149,000. And I don't have yesterday's Stone Cold takes on America too soon. Last week's did 277, which is down from the week prior, 282. So Austin is averaging around 260, 270,000 viewers for his show. Most Wanted Treasures. It's hard for me to really give ratings every week because, you know, you can't like really narrow the episode down to like a couple of words. They've been averaging about 375,000. A lot better than Steve Austin. Okay. Top 25. Listen. You know by now, that went down the wrong way. That hurt. You know by now, WWE, when they do countdowns, they will give an added boost to people who are in the company today. I will never forget, and listen, who would have thought way back when Trish Stratus was Diva of the Decade, a lot of us thought it should have been Tammy. This was before a lot of, you know, of what happened. At that time, different. But you understood as the years go by and they do their countdowns that they will put people on there who are in the company now and inflate some of what they do. And listen, to still call the New Day, I think, the greatest tag team of all time, you know, I mean, you understand why they do it. Sometimes you just giggle and you move on. This list, though, some of it is just, I don't know who the fuck came up with this list. Some of it is just pathetic, especially when I throw a few names out there. And if the moments do not recollect in your mind, if you go Google them and you watch them, you'd be like, how is this not on the list? I found 4 like that I'm saying to myself, how is it not on the list? WWE just gave us their top 25 list of the greatest WWE debuts in history. All right, you could see the problem already, and I shouldn't have put this picture on there, but yeah, it's a spoiler. Tell me, in the top 25 debuts in WWE history, how Ronda Rousey makes the list. And I'm a big fan of Ronda Rousey. You always hear me defending her on these shows. When she debuted, when I show you later, all she did was point to the fucking WrestleMania sign. She's on the list. Wait till I tell you where she's ranked. Not 1, but with all due respect, you go back, let's go back 32 years. Let's go back 32 years because Undertaker is on this list. So since The Undertaker is on this list, I think that's the oldest debut, which was what, 1990? So we're going back at least 32 years. So in the last 32 years, this is what they feel is the top 25 greatest debuts in WWE history. Not Raw, not SmackDown, not just overall. I edited this down as much as I possibly could because we would get hammered with copyright almost immediately. So I'm going to share with you their top 25 greatest debuts in their history. Number 25, because they had to put him on the fucking list, Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa is on this list. Now, look, him getting involved in the Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre match, I totally understand why you would do that. All right, he pulled him outside the ring. Okay, we didn't expect Solo Sikoa to debut, but he did. All right, he did. Is that a top 25 debut of all time? All right, maybe. But to me, I think he's only on this list because of the bloodline. That's not top 25 for me. Oh, there's some on this list that makes sense. To me, about more than half of it is ridiculous. I give you number 24. Number 24 on this list, Santino Marella. Remember that night in Italy? Remember? And Santino Marella won the championship. I still remember doing the Don Tony and Kevin Castle show that night. And I'm Italian. In fact, my middle name is Santino. It's my uncle's name. When he debuted, I wanted to go dish, slapping it. I didn't like it at all. I still remember when he was in the ring. What's your name? Santino Marella. I like Santino. I don't mind, but that's a top 25 debut of all time. Him winning the championship, to me, that was bullshit. But it's ranked number 24. Number 23 on this list, Shinsuke Nakamura. All right, okay, we had a violinist. All right, he played the violin. Shinsuke comes to the ring. Now, look, we were happy that Shinsuke debuted, but this is the top 23 moment of all time. Shinsuke's entrance. You want to do greatest entrances of all time, greatest debut entrances, that's fine. Tell me how Shinsuke Nakamura is in the top 25 of the greatest debuts of all time. Debuts. Number 23. Number 22 on this list. No, it's not the Hart Dynasty. It's the Usos and Tamina. They get involved. They lay out the Hart Dynasty. Hey, it was an interesting debut. Is it one of the greatest of all time? They got involved in a match. The crowd didn't really go nuts. I mean, they were still very unknown. So we look back on it with nostalgia, but do I put that in the top 25 of all time? No, not even close. Especially when I give you 4 later that didn't make the list. I promise you, each one of those 4, you're going to be like, how the fuck did it not make the list? Okay, gets better. Number 21 on this list, Baron Corbin. You remember the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? Here comes Baron Corbin dumping Kane over the top rope, winning the Andre. That's greatest debut of all time that is on the list. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody still gives a shit. I mean, it was surprise. In all 33 years of everybody who debuted, Baron Corbin is in the top 21 of this list. Okay, we just talked a moment ago about Umaga. Umaga is on his list. If you remember, he came out, Ric Flair was in the ring, and Umaga decided to fuck around with Ric Flair a little bit, beat his ass a little bit. Hey, it was memorable. Is it the top 20 debuts of all time? Hey, I'll give you one right now that's not on the list. I'll give you one. Mike Awesome. Now, I'm not saying it because he killed himself. Mike Awesome, in the midst of the WCW, ECW invasion of Monday Night Raw, Rhino won the hardcore, will retain the hardcore championship, maybe even won it. I don't remember if he won it or retained, but he won. If you remember in the parking lot, wasn't it Madison Square Garden? Here comes Mike Awesome running up the parking lot and takes a metal pipe and cracks Rhino over the head with it and pins Rhino and says, give me my belt. And the crowd is going nuts. Paul Heyman can't believe it on commentary. That's not on that list. Go back, again, some of you out there, this is a little bit before your time, but you go back and you watch Mike Awesome's debut on WWE Raw, and you look at some of the, I'm not saying that some of these wrestlers are not some of the greatest of all time, but this is supposed to be the greatest debuts in WWE history. We're being generous and only going back 32 years. So I give you Mike Awesome as the first one. All right, we continue. All right, next on the list. This one is baffling. Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is a Hall of Famer. Rey Mysterio is one of the greatest of all time. His match against Chavo was fun. But is it the greatest debut? Everybody starts somewhere on WWE television. Rey had a great match with Chavo. But even when you watch this top 25 list, this is the best they could do with Rey. Rey getting the pin on Chavo. It was a fun debut. Crowd was into it, but to me, it's not something that how many times has WWE replayed that since his debut? How many times have you ever seen WWE replay? And please don't say to me, oh, they don't do it because Chavo's in it. So honestly, if they would have showed him jumping off the cage that night, maybe that would have been different. But that's what they chose to show us. Top 25, questionable. This deserves to be on the list. This deserves to be ranked a hell of a lot higher up. Number 18, The Nexus. They fucking destroyed Justin Roberts that night. They destroyed John Cena. They destroyed the ring, the air. They did everything that night. They Nexus's debut should be in the top 10. And they're ranked number 18. That is ridiculous. But Nexus definitely belongs there. To me, easy top 10. How they left that there was no commentary. And how they left that night, it was insane. That might even be top 5. That's how crazy that night was. Crazy. That shit was crazy that night. The next one, we all love her. This is fucking ridiculous. Let's put it this way. What I'm about to show you is ranked higher than the Nexus. Get ready. Next on the list, number 17, Asuka's debut. She wrestled Emma at TLC. Yes, she was in NXT. And yes, she's fucking awesome. But is this one of the greatest debuts in WWE history? Again, everybody's got to start somewhere. And you're saying to me that Asuka winning against Emma is one of the greatest in history? To me, that's ridiculous. So Asuka is on this list. Next on this list, this is going to be interesting. Again, you look at the match. I mean, look, the crowd loved Asuka, NXT, of course. But is this one of the greatest debuts? No. Carlito, number 16. He attacks John Cena with the chain, pins him, becomes United States champion. Carlito, ranked number 16, greatest debuts of all time. I have no problem with Carlito on this list. Carlito, maybe even a top 15 because he won a championship. He fucking laid out John Cena. I would have put Fandango on this list. Fandango at WrestleMania beating Jericho. I would put that at number 25. Just because you're a Hall of Famer doesn't mean you should be on this list. There is one on this list that I think people, 99.9% of you out there are going to say, this, what the fuck is this on this list for? I'll give you another one that's not on the list. One of my favorite debuts in the history of WWE TV that doesn't ever get talked about. And I know why, because, he tried to sue WWE and everything. When Raven debuted, this was after ECW closed. And I know he was there as Johnny Polo, but, some wrestlers were there in previous gimmicks as well. Kane is a perfect example. But when Raven debuted as part of the WCW ECW invasion, Taz was taking on Jerry Lawler in a strap match. And Raven showed up. I promise you, if you go out and you see it, I'm not exaggerating. When Raven hits the ring and DDTs Jerry Lawler, please look at the crowd. The crowd is about 15,000 people in the building. Every single person jumped out of their seat when he hit the ring. When he hit the DDT on Jerry Lawler, people were going nuts. I think on the history show, I played the audio just so people could hear how loud of a pop that he got that night. You heard this eruption, you're like, holy shit. It's not on the list. It's not on the list. So Carlito makes the list. The next one is criminal. It's criminal. The Great Khali. The Great Khali. Undertaker is confused. He hits Khali. Khali stands there, hits him with an awful chop. That is one of the greatest debuts. Top 15 debut of all time, everyone. The Great Khali. I know he is beloved overseas. I know he's an ambassador for WWE. So they got to, milk that crowd. But top 15, Great Khali. Khali has no business being on this list. That was not an all-time debut. Next. Okay, this one, is it top 14 of all time? I don't think so. This would be probably more in the low 20s, maybe mid-20s. All right, Braun Strowman makes his debut. Roman Reigns is like, what the fuck is going on? Braun did a decent job. Then is it in the top 14 greatest of all time? No. 14, everybody. Top 14. All right. Some of these coming up are not bad, but some of you may feel that it's low. This next one is interesting. I don't know how you feel about it. Does it deserve to be in the top 13? I actually think this might be a decent spot for this one. Number 13 on this list, Sting. There you go. Triple H, what the fuck is going on? The lights go off. Here comes Sting. Crowd, if you look at that crowd, the crowd is not losing their shit as much as you would think that they were. Triple H is confused. Sting is down the rampway. The crowd was into it, but again, look at the crowd. Crowd is not going nuts, like jumping out of their seats. They were into it. I still think it's fine as number 13. It's a memorable debut. Is it worthy of the spot that it's in? Well, you be the judge. This next one, it's interesting because he had a Hall of Fame career. One of the greatest to ever lace the boots up. Would you put The Undertaker at number 12? It's a memorable debut in Survivor Series, but where do you rank The Undertaker as far as his debut? It was memorable again, but is this top 12? Greatest of all time? Maybe. It's kind of funny how they put the Sting and The Undertaker back to back. Undertaker's got to get a little slight advantage because of his WWE career. But Kane is not number one, my friends. No. Kane is not number one. That's got to be Kane. No, it's not number one. All right, next on this list. I like this debut. It's memorable. But if you're going to put this on the list, you got to put Raven. You got to put Mike Awesome. There's a few others as well. But number 11 on this list, can you dig it, sucker? Booker T shows up, goes right after Steve Austin, lays his ass out, puts him through the table. I think Steve Austin even got injured that night. Didn't he get injured when he went through the table? Booker T, yeah, he's laying his ass out, man. Booker T, all right. I don't have too much. The next one, to me, is disgusting. I think for a lot of you out there, it might be your favorite debut of all time. For me, it's my favorite Raw debut of all time. Because I've been watching wrestling for so long, I haven't really thought about, like my all-time most epic favorite WWE debut ever. Like, I haven't really thought about that. But it might still end up being my favorite debut in the history of watching WWE. Number 10 on this list, I think for a lot of you, would be number 1, maybe number 2, possibly number 3. Let me put it this way. Ronda Rousey is on this list. We haven't brought her up yet. WWE feels that Ronda Rousey pointing to a fucking WrestleMania sign is a bigger debut than this. Number 10, Chris Jericho. WWE must be fucking angry at Chris Jericho. Like, could you imagine the anger that they have towards Chris Jericho right now? Chris Jericho listen, I have played the audio of his debut at least 20, 30 times from my hotline to the shows over the years. That crowd erupting when he's going at it with The Rock, it's my favorite Raw debut. Put it this way, it's my favorite, not even debut, it's my favorite Raw moment of all time. And they think that this debut is just top 10. And again, Ronda Rousey is ranked higher than this. That is embarrassing. Whoever made this list, I think they made this list just to piss off Jericho. I'm not kidding either. Next on the list, I think some of you would put it top 5. It's memorable. It's a big debut. I still remember when The Undertaker showed him respect in the back. And remember, The Undertaker was still a heel at that time. Number 9 on this list. We will see it in a second. I gave a little extra time for Jericho. This is my favorite Raw moment of all time. Number 9 on this list, John Cena. You understand how important this was. Is it top 10? I don't have an argument with that. But for me, like I said, the fact that Jericho is ranked 10 is ridiculous. But this was a good moment. All right, number 8 on this list. Listen, we all like him. I wouldn't have even put this on the top 25. I'm not kidding. I probably would not have thought about putting it in the top 25. When you see it, you're going to be a little surprised. This is not throwing shade on this star. But the night was memorable, but I don't consider it a top debut of all time. Number 8 on this list, get ready, everybody, Kevin Owens. Remember the night Kevin Owens, he hits the pop-up powerbomb and then steps on Cena's title? All right, yeah, it's a memorable moment. Is it a bigger debut than Jericho? Is it a bigger debut than the Nexus, Rey Mysterio, Umaga? Number 8, everybody. Number 8. I think even Kevin Owens, when he saw this list, he's probably like, the fuck am I doing on this list? Kevin Owens ranked number 8. I'm almost tempted to do a poll. I'm not kidding. I'm almost tempted to do a poll. In fact, I would love for everybody in the chat room right now, because everybody will see it on the replay. I want you to choose either Jericho or the next person I'm about to show you. We already know Ronda Rousey is probably the biggest travesty on this list. Nothing against Ronda, but trust me, travesty. But I got to ask you, which moment is more ridiculous on this list? The fact that Chris Jericho is ranked number 10 or this person is on this list. He's not only on this list, he's ranked number 7. Tell me how this is one of the greatest debuts in WWE history. My friends, number 7, Rocky Maivia. The blue chipper, everyone. Rocky Maivia. They even piped in fake crowd pop for this video package. Rocky Maivia's debut. It's an important moment. Rocky had one of the greatest careers, one of the greatest debuts of all time. I honestly, anybody that I've ever talked to that brings up Rocky Maivia's debut thought it sucked balls. The Rock is ranked number 7. Number 6, you know what? In recent memory, I don't think many people would have an argument about number 6. I actually, as I look at this list, there's 2 names I don't think belong in the top 6. There's 2 names that don't belong in this top 6. The next one is not one of them. I think this is fine. AJ Styles debuting in the Royal Rumble. I think AJ Styles coming out was fucking great. The problem with his debut is that, you know, he wasn't in the Rumble. You know, like, does anybody ever bring up like what he actually did in the Rumble? Like, it's a memorable moment when he came out. So that's up for debate. Should AJ Styles be ranked number 6 in the history of WWE greatest debuts of all time? So, you know, top 10, I don't have an argument with it, but he is ranked number 6. Number 5 on this list, I don't have much of a problem either, because I remember doing my hotline at that time, and when we covered his debut, I remember myself, Matt Zombie, and Brian Damage just saying, holy fucking shit. Because when he debuted, we saw him wrestle at Madison Square Garden in a dark match against Kurt Angle, and he sucked. The match sucked. This was not that long before of his debut. And when he came out, he fucking destroyed everybody. Number 5 on this list, everyone, and I don't have an argument with it. Number 5 on this list, Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar just beat the shit out of everybody that night. Just fucking destroying his ass. I mean, killed him. Brock Lesnar, number 5, no problem with that. Number 4, everybody. In the history of WWE, this is what WWE calls their 4th greatest moment of all time. It's greatest debut. There you go, everybody. There you go. Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Charlotte. You know, Alexa and Charlotte holding belts in the air. And Asuka's nodding. And, oh, here we go. There you go. There. Oh, look, there's Ronda Rousey. She's smiling. And the crowd is not really making any reaction at all. Let's be honest. Look at the crowd. And all she does is point. She fucking points. Out of everything that we showed tonight, this deserves to be enlarged just for a second. Number 4, greatest moment, debut in the history of WWE. That is pathetic. Ronda Rousey, ranked number 4. The next one, also, in my opinion, does not belong on this list. I would put it top 25. Let's put it this way. I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but the fact that the one I show you now is ranked number 3 tells me he is going to get his retirement match in the WWE. My friends, hey, listen, the crowd went nuts, and he fucking speared The Rock. You know, the crowd wasn't into it as much as you think they are. 3 in the history of WWE, definitely top 25. The fact that he's ranked number 3, again, a lot of these numbers are done to cater to current stars. I think the fact that they did that gesture to Goldberg, I think Goldberg is going to have his retirement match in WWE. I really do believe that. I think, you know, the amount of money that he's asking for is not out of bounds. They're going back to Saudi Arabia. It could happen in Saudi. I don't know. I have a feeling that's why he's ranked number 3. Number 2 on this list. Some people would probably put it number 1. I don't think too many people would argue if it's number 2 on this list. Number 2 on this list It's got to be Kane. Kane making his debut. Undertaker is confused. He rips that night was pretty fucking cool, man. When Kane hit the ring, I mean, we were all just baffled. And then, nice little pile driver, nice little tombstone to the Undertaker, laying him on his head, dumping him on his head. Kane's debut was great. I don't have any objection to that. Now, can you guess what number one is? Before I tell you what number one is, let me give you one more that did not make the list that absolutely deserves to be on this list. Paige, when she made her debut on the main roster, didn't she win the women's championship that night as well? And she was crying. The crowd fucking loved it. We all made a big deal about it. Paige didn't even make the top 25. Again, when you look at some of these debuts, some of these wrestlers are very important in the history of WWE. That doesn't mean a debut is one of the greatest, if even memorable. It's some of these debuts are matter of fact. Didn't they do the fucking movie about her debut? Wasn't a big part of the movie? She didn't make the list. My friends, number one on this list, did you think that there was any doubt? Ranked number one. So, listen, again, most of these top 25 countdowns, I don't really talk about that much because they're ridiculous. But a lot of us were having quite a bit of conversation the last couple of days about it. And I think because of that, we definitely needed to bring it up. Again, they cater to a lot of people of today. With all due respect, again, Ronda Rousey, it's a fucking joke. All she did was point. Some of these debuts are pathetic. And again, the fact that Jericho is ranked number 10 just goes to show you that there's some politics involved. But, Bray Wyatt didn't make the list. Listen, if you have any from 1990, again, you could go back further. But I guess we're going with 90 since The Undertaker debuted that year. But if you have one that, is not crossing my mind right now, post it in the comment section. For me, I remember Mike Awesome's. And I remember how much the crowd popped. Ravens is great. Believe me, even if you're not a fan of Raven, and, I'm not the biggest fan of his, but you see his debut and you look at some of this back and some of the crowd reactions and the lack thereof. Trust me, their debuts were a hell of a lot better than some of the people on this list. And Paige not being on this list is a little ridiculous as well. So, hey, let me know what you think. So I'm going to jet out of here. Wow, we ended up going a lot longer than I planned. Almost an hour longer than I planned. It's weird because tonight we only had like 4 or 5 topics to talk about. Raw, injuries, ratings, history, top 25 list. That's pretty much it. So, we spent a little extra time tonight, which is all good. So I got to get my ass to the editing room, which is the same room. And then I got to get myself prepared for sleep. So if you enjoyed tonight's show, you know what to do. If you know anyone else out there that might like the channel, let them know about it. Again, DonTony.com. Even if you check it out on leisure, download the audio episodes. That helps, especially with our rankings. It gets skewed, the numbers, because a lot of the stats over here, they don't factor in with iTunes and Spotify and a lot of other areas. So, definitely support the audio versions. It definitely helps this channel, especially that we want to keep the channel going and normal like it's been. That plays a very, very heavy role in this, especially since 85 to 90% of my audience accesses just the audio only. People will check out video when warranted. Tonight might be a reason for that. But thank you as always for your support. It is very much appreciated. I'm always here trying to give you everything straight up. No clickbait, no teasing or anything like that. I just try to give it to you straight up. Nothing wrong about gossiping. Nothing wrong about getting into some rumors. It's always fun to get into some. But, sometimes, you got to pull away. I think the CM Punk stuff over the last 7 days, plus that $1 billion deal that never happened last week in New York City. A lot of people got a lot of explaining to do. But, yeah, I hope you had a good one. Hope your weekend was good. And I hope to see you again later this week. So as far as the show schedule, I'll be live on Patreon with Kev Tuesday night. And it'll be available on DonTony.com for everybody. We'll do predictions for Night of Champions. Wednesday at DonTony.com, I'll do your regular Wednesday night Dynamite. Saturday morning, I'm still doing the Don Tony show. It's kind of tough because 1 p.m. Eastern is Night of Champions. I start at 11. So I'm probably only going to do an hour Saturday. I don't want to do it too close to Night of Champions, so we'll probably do maybe a little pre-show, talk about some news and stuff. We'll do a normal sit-down. And by the way, yesterday's sit-down episode, if you haven't checked it out yet, I'm going to do a poll to see if this should be a feature once a month. Yesterday, we talked about 95% of the show was not about wrestling. It was about everything but. And it was a very, very fun show to do. But, unfortunately, getting feedback is not as easy. I don't want to take 20, 30 responses and base, 20, 30,000 downloads and, and a couple of thousand views based on 30, emails or feedback. So I'm probably going to put up a poll later this week for everybody to vote if you want that format maybe once a month, where we focus mostly on non-wrestling. Yesterday was pretty interesting show. Patreon, we do something similar every week. That gets a little deeper than what we did yesterday, but I'm very curious to see. And look, if majority feels, just stick to wrestling and nothing else, then we'll stick to wrestling. So, my friends, I definitely appreciate it. And I see a late super chat coming in from Eric Williams. I don't mind bringing this up now. Absolutely. Thank you for the 2-spot, my friend. What match do I think opens Night of Champions? Ha! All right. Which one opens Night of Champions? Well, I'll leave you with this. They're advertising it as a triple main event. And I get it. People play semantics. Oh, there's only one match that ends the show, so that match is the main event. No. The reason why they're calling it a triple main event is they want each match to share the same value. Brock and Cody, Seth and AJ, and the tag team title match. That's your triple main event. Outside of that, you have Gunther versus Mustafa Ali. You have Natalya versus Rhea Ripley, and you got Bianca Belair versus Asuka. In my opinion, I think we'll get Bianca Belair and Asuka. I think that may open the show. They both are very well received in Saudi Arabia. I think it would be a fun way to open a night. I think Rhea Ripley versus Natalya might follow one of the 3 main events. I think Brock and Cody. I'm not sure which match closes out the night. I personally would have Brock and Cody end the night. It's just usually Brock is one of the earlier matches on the card. So my gut feeling tells me Bianca and Asuka opens and either Seth and AJ close it or Brock and Cody. And I'm leaning towards Brock and Cody. I think, that could very well. I might feel different by tomorrow, but we'll see. The tag match could possibly close it too. You got to think of the outcome. Like when it's the final moment, when the fireworks go up and you go off the air, does it sound like, let me put it this way. Wouldn't it kind of be awkward, even though they iron things out? Wouldn't it be kind of awkward to have Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, like the last moment you would see at Night of Champions, especially with the relationship with Saudi Arabia and Syria in recent years? I don't know if I could picture Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, with their hands up in the air and fireworks going off to close out the night. So I don't think that'll close it out. I think we very well could end up with Seth Rollins. I can picture Seth Rollins holding the World Heavyweight Championship up in the air and the fireworks go off and we go off the air. It kind of feels like that's unless Cody wins. If Cody beats Brock, Cody absolutely will go off the air. So I got to think about it. I'm undecided about Cody versus Brock because I could picture Cody passing out from the pain and them doing that, especially when you think of Dusty and you remember, just because you pass out doesn't mean, you really lost, even though you lost. So, all right, guys, have a good one. All the best. I'll catch you all again soon. Be well.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.